fall asleep to the secret underground base beneath Dulce, New Mexico. Beneath the surface of this seemingly quiet town lies a hidden world teeming with unimaginable secrets. What if I told you that this underground base holds truths so chilling they could change everything we know about our reality? As whispers of alien encounters and government cover-ups swirl through the dusty streets of Dulce, one journalist, Evelyn, is determined to uncover the truth. But what she finds will push her to the brink of danger and challenge everything she believes. In the heart of New Mexico lies Dulce, a town steeped in whispers of a hidden underground base. It's a place where the ordinary meets the extraordinary, and the air is thick with secrets. To the untrained eye, it appears just like any other small town, with its quiet streets, charming shops, and friendly faces. Yet beneath this surface lies a world of intrigue that beckons the curious and the brave. Enter Evelyn, a passionate journalist captivated by tales of aliens, government cover-ups, and the unknown. Her fascination with the paranormal had begun in childhood, sparked by late-night stories told around campfires. Now, as she drives into Dulce, the sun setting behind the rugged mountains, a thrill courses through her veins. This isn't just another story. It's the chance to uncover a hidden truth that could shake the foundations of reality. As she parks her car in front of the local diner, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafts through the air, mingling with the earthy scent of the desert. Evelyn steps out, feeling the warm breeze against her skin. The diner, a quaint establishment with a neon sign flickering "Open," seems to be the perfect starting point for her investigation. But as she walks toward the entrance, an unsettling feeling creeps over her. What secrets are the locals hiding? What truths lie beneath the surface? Evelyn takes a deep breath, adjusting her camera strap over her shoulder. This is it, she reassures herself, determination igniting a fire within. She pushes the door open, and the little bell jingles, announcing her arrival. Inside, the diner is bustling with activity. A few patrons sit at the counter, engaged in quiet conversations, their laughter punctuating the soft hum of the jukebox in the corner. She can't help but notice the way their discussions falter as she enters, eyes darting her way before quickly returning to their plates. Choosing a seat by the window, Evelyn pulls out her notebook and begins to jot down her observations. The walls are adorned with photographs of the town's history, showcasing a blend of Native American heritage and the modern-day quirks of small-town life. Each picture tells a story, but it's the tales of the base beneath Dulce that she's eager to uncover. Coffee? A cheerful waitress approaches, her notepad at the ready. Evelyn nods, grateful for the brief distraction. As she waits for her drink, she scans the room, catching snippets of conversation. Words like visitors, lights in the sky, and government catch her attention, igniting her curiosity further. After a few moments, the waitress returns, placing a steaming cup of coffee in front of her. "You're not from around here, are you?" she asks, wiping her hands on her apron. "No, I'm just visiting for a story," Evelyn replies, trying to gauge the woman's openness. "I've heard a lot about Dulce and its underground base." The waitress's expression shifts, a flicker of concern crossing her face. "You might want to be careful with that topic," she warns, leaning in slightly. Not everyone is comfortable talking about it. Evelyn feels a surge of excitement mixed with apprehension. "Why is that?" she probes, her journalist instincts kicking in. With a hesitant glance around the diner, the waitress lowers her voice. "There are things down there that people don't understand, things that shouldn't be messed with." Her words hang heavy in the air, stirring a mix of excitement and unease within Evelyn. Determined to seek the truth, Evelyn brushes off the warning. After all, she's faced danger before in her pursuit of stories, and she's not about to back down now. "I'll uncover whatever lies beneath this town," she thinks, her resolve hardening. But as she walks the streets after leaving the diner, the weight of the town's hidden past bears down on her, whispering secrets that only the brave dare to uncover. As night falls, she wanders the dimly lit streets, her mind racing with possibilities. The sky is a blanket of stars, twinkling above like distant eyes watching her every move. Evelyn's pulse quickens as she approaches a local shop that claims to sell paranormal memorabilia. The neon sign flickers, casting an eerie glow on the pavement. Inside, the shop is filled with oddities, books on alien encounters, strange artifacts, photographs of UFOs. A chill runs down her spine as she examines a shelf lined with dusty tomes, each one promising revelations about the unknown. But it's a small, framed photograph that catches her eye. A grainy image of a massive structure, partially obscured by shadows, with the words Dulce Base scrawled at the bottom. Her heart races. This is the kind of evidence she's been searching for. But just as she reaches for the photograph, the shopkeeper, a grizzled old man with deep-set eyes, appears beside her. "You're not ready for that," he says, his voice low and gravelly. "You don't want to dig too deep." His words echo the waitress's warning, sending a shiver through her. Yet, Evelyn's determination only grows. She feels an unshakable pull toward the truth. Little does she know, danger lurks in the shadows, waiting to challenge her every step. This is only the beginning of a journey that will test her limits and push her to confront the darkness hidden beneath Dulce. The next morning dawns bright and clear, yet a heavy fog clings to the ground, obscuring the distant mountains that cradle Dulce. Evelyn awakens with a sense of purpose, her mind buzzing with thoughts of her discoveries from the previous day. She sips her coffee, the rich aroma filling her small motel room, and reviews her notes, the faint scribbles of her observations and interviews dancing before her eyes. Each word seems to pulse with the promise of adventure, propelling her forward into the unknown. After a quick breakfast of toast and eggs, she decides it's time to begin her real investigation. The underground base is more than just a rumour. It's a complex web of stories and truths that intertwine with the town's very fabric. She feels a magnetic pull toward the entrance that locals often speak of in hushed tones, a place where secrets are buried deep beneath the surface. Evelyn sets out, her camera slung over her shoulder and her notebook in hand. As she walks through the streets, she notices the locals eyeing her with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Their whispers follow her, like shadows lurking just out of sight. Some seem to recognize her as the newcomer, the journalist daring enough to probe into matters best left untouched. She can feel their wary gazes as she passes, as if they are silently warning her of dangers she cannot yet comprehend. Her first stop is the local library, a modest building that looks as if it has stood for decades, its bricks worn and weathered by time. Inside, the smell of aged paper fills the air, and the quiet rustle of pages turning creates a serene atmosphere that contrasts sharply with the tumult of her thoughts. She approaches the librarian, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a knowing smile, and asks for any resources on Dulce's history and the rumoured base. "Ah, the base," the librarian says, her expression shifting to one of concern. "There are some books on the subject, but I must warn you many of the accounts are sensationalized." Evelyn nods, understanding that she must sift through the fiction to find the truth. After an hour of research, she compiles a list of names and events that might lead her closer to the heart of the mystery. One name stands out among the rest: Dr. William W. Cooper, a controversial figure known for his bold claims about extraterrestrial life and secret government projects. His story is interwoven with the very fabric of Dulce's lore, and Evelyn feels an urgent need to learn more about him. With renewed energy, she makes her way to the town's historical society, hoping to find more information about Cooper and his connections to Dulce. The building is small and unassuming, with a faded sign hanging above the door that creaks ominously in the breeze. Inside, an elderly gentleman sits behind the front desk, surrounded by stacks of dusty boxes, old photographs, and a clutter of miscellaneous artifacts. "Hello there," he greets her, adjusting his glasses as he peers over the rim. "What brings you to our little corner of history?" "I'm researching the underground base and Dr. William W. Cooper's involvement," Evelyn replies, her voice steady despite the flutter of nerves in her stomach. The old man's expression darkens slightly, and he leans back in his chair, studying her with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "Cooper was a man of many words, but not all of them were trustworthy," he warns. "He spoke of things that many would prefer to keep buried." Undeterred, Evelyn presses on. "Do you have any records or accounts of his work?" After a moment's hesitation, the gentleman nods and retrieves a box from a shelf. Inside, she finds newspaper clippings, faded letters, and photographs of Cooper at various events. One image catches her eye, a photograph of Cooper standing outside a facility that looks strikingly similar to what she had seen in the shop. The caption reads, "Cooper exposes the truth about Dulce Base." Her heart races as she studies the photograph, an exhilarating thrill coursing through her veins. Could this be the entrance? She wonders, her mind racing with possibilities. She quickly snaps a picture with her camera for reference, feeling the weight of her growing investigation. With the sun beginning to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the ground, Evelyn decides it's time to find the rumoured entrance to the base. Armed with her newfound knowledge, she heads toward the outskirts of town, where locals had hinted at strange happenings and hidden paths. The thought of exploring the unknown sends a shiver of excitement down her spine, mingled with a hint of apprehension. As she approaches the area described in the clippings, the landscape changes. The neatly kept roads give way to rugged terrain, and the air seems to grow heavier, charged with an inexplicable energy. She can feel the weight of the earth beneath her, as if it holds secrets just waiting to be unearthed. The shadows of the trees loom larger, their twisted branches reaching out like fingers grasping for her. After a short hike, she finds herself standing before a nondescript rock formation, partially obscured by trees and underbrush. The sight takes her breath away. With a pounding heart, she examines the stones, searching for any sign of an entrance. It's then that she notices a faint outline, a door carved into the rock, nearly camouflaged from the casual observer. The earth around it is disturbed, as if something or someone has recently passed through. Evelyn's pulse quickens as she pushes against the door, feeling the cold stone beneath her fingertips. It creaks open, revealing a dark passageway that descends into the heart of the earth. A chill runs down her spine, but her curiosity drives her forward. She switches on her flashlight, illuminating the damp walls that seem to close in around her, the beam of light cutting through the oppressive darkness. As she steps inside, the air grows colder, and the silence is profound, broken only by the sound of her footsteps echoing through the narrow corridor. The walls are lined with strange symbols and markings, remnants of a long-forgotten era. Each step deeper into the passage feels like crossing into another world, one filled with both wonder and dread. The atmosphere is thick with tension, and she can't shake the feeling that she's being watched. The path twists and turns, leading her deeper underground. As Evelyn descends, her mind races with the potential discoveries that lie ahead. What had once been mere rumours and whispers now felt tangible, as if the truth was beckoning her to uncover it. The walls seem to pulse with energy, and she can almost hear the echoes of the past calling out to her. Finally, she reaches a large chamber, the walls adorned with bizarre murals depicting alien figures interacting with humans. The artwork is both captivating and unsettling, each image telling a story of interaction, fear, and awe. In the center of the room stands a massive control panel, flickering with lights and buttons that seem to pulse with life. Evelyn's breath catches in her throat as she realizes she stands at the heart of the Dulce base, a place that has become legend. But as she approaches the panel, a sudden noise echoes through the chamber, a distant rumble that reverberates through the walls. Her heart races as she spins around, her instincts screaming that she is not alone. Shadows shift in the darkness, and the air thickens with an ominous presence. She grips her camera tightly, ready to document whatever may come next, but a wave of doubt washes over her. What if she has gone too far? What if some truths are best left undiscovered? Evelyn knows she must tread carefully. The truth she seeks may come at a cost, and the descent into the unknown has only just begun. As she stands in the dim light of the below chamber, surrounded by the remnants of a world hidden from the public eye, she steels herself for whatever revelations await in the depths of Dulce. The flickering lights of the control panel cast eerie shadows across the chamber, dancing against the cold stone walls like phantoms caught in a restless waltz. Evelyn's heart races as she steps closer, drawn by an inexplicable force. The air is thick with a sense of foreboding, but her curiosity outweighs her fear. She feels as though she has crossed a threshold into a hidden world, one that has been waiting for her to uncover its secrets. The control panel hums softly, its buttons glowing with an otherworldly light. Evelyn hesitates for a moment, then reaches out, her fingers brushing against the cool surface. A surge of energy courses through her, and she feels as if the very history of the place is pulsating beneath her fingertips. She glances around the chamber, taking in the bizarre murals that decorate the walls. The artwork is both captivating and unsettling, each image telling a story of encounters between humans and beings from beyond the stars. Some murals depict peaceful exchanges, where humans and aliens share knowledge, their expressions filled with wonder and curiosity. Others illustrate scenes of chaos and fear, where shadows loom large and humanity's vulnerability is starkly apparent. One mural stands out among the rest, a depiction of a tall, slender figure with elongated limbs and large, expressive eyes. The creature reaches out toward a human who appears both terrified and entranced, caught in a moment that seems to defy explanation. Evelyn can't shake the feeling that this was not just art, but a record of actual events, moments that had transpired within these very walls. Suddenly, a soft sound draws her attention. It's a faint whisper, echoing through the chamber like a distant memory. "Help us." The voice is barely audible, but it carries a sense of urgency that sends a shiver down her spine. She scans the room, her heart pounding in her chest. "Hello?" she calls out, her voice trembling slightly. "Is anyone there?" The silence that follows is deafening, amplifying her anxiety. The whispers seem to fade, leaving only her own breath, heavy and quick in the stillness. Determined to uncover the source of the voice, Evelyn steps away from the control panel and begins to explore the chamber further. The walls are covered in strange symbols and hieroglyphs that she can't decipher. It's as if the very essence of this place is steeped in ancient knowledge, waiting for someone to unlock its mysteries. She touches the surface of the wall, tracing the lines of one intricate design, feeling a strange resonance, as if the stone itself is alive with stories waiting to be told. As she examines one particular section of the wall, she notices a slight indentation, a small recess that seems different from the rest. There's something familiar about it, almost as if it were designed for a specific purpose. She presses on it gently, and to her surprise, a hidden compartment swings open, revealing a small metallic device, glinting ominously in the dim light. Evelyn's breath catches in her throat as she lifts it from its resting place. It's a small, handheld gadget, unlike anything she has ever seen, a blend of technology and design that seems far ahead of its time. The surface is etched with intricate patterns, and a faint light pulsates from within, casting strange reflections on her face. She can't help but wonder what it is and what function it served within this clandestine operation. Could it be a communication device, a tool for navigation, or perhaps something far more sinister? Just then, the distant rumble she heard earlier grows louder, shaking the chamber slightly. Evelyn steadies herself against the wall, her heart racing. The vibrations seem to resonate with the device in her hands, and she realizes with a jolt that it might be a key to understanding the base's purpose, not merely a relic, but a piece of a much larger puzzle. Suddenly, the chamber is filled with the sound of footsteps echoing from the corridor. Panic surges within her. She can't afford to be caught here. She quickly stashes the device in her jacket and moves deeper into the shadows of the chamber, her instincts kicking in. Her mind races with the implications of being discovered. Who else knows about this place? What do they want? Evelyn presses herself against the wall, trying to quiet her breathing as the footsteps draw nearer. She can make out the figures of two men, their voices low and conspiratorial. "We need to find her before she gets too close to the truth," one of them says, his tone laced with urgency. "If she discovers what's really going on here, it could ruin everything." The second man responds, his voice steady but filled with tension. "We can't let that happen. The project must remain classified. We have to keep the town in the dark." Their words send a chill through Evelyn. They were talking about her, about the very investigation she had embarked on. As the men approach, Evelyn retreats further into the shadows, her heart pounding in her chest. She can't risk being seen, not now. Their conversation continues, snippets of information tumbling into her ears, each revelation fueling her determination. "They can't know about the experiments," one man insists. "We've already lost too many people." Evelyn's breath catches. "Experiments? What kind of experiments?" The weight of their words settles heavily in the air. She strains to listen, desperate to gather more information, but the tension in the room escalates. The men seem to sense her presence, their voices growing more agitated. "Search the area. She must be here somewhere," one of them barks, and Evelyn's heart drops. She knows she has to act quickly. With no time to lose, she slips silently from the chamber and back into the corridor, her mind racing. She retraces her steps, relying on her instincts to guide her through the twisting passages. The faint light from her flashlight reflects off the damp stone walls, illuminating the path ahead as she moves with purpose. Each step is calculated, her senses heightened in the dim light. As she navigates the maze-like tunnels, the fear of being caught propels her forward. She can hear the men behind her, their footsteps echoing through the darkness, growing closer with each passing moment. She turns a corner sharply and skids to a halt, nearly colliding with a solid wall. Panic surges through her, and she quickly scans her surroundings for an escape route. To her right, she spots a narrow opening, an old maintenance shaft that appears partially collapsed. It's risky, but it's her only option. With a surge of adrenaline, she squeezes through the opening, scraping her arms against the jagged edges as she makes her way into the darkness. The shaft leads her deeper into the bowels of the base, twisting and turning until she emerges into another chamber, this one smaller and dimly lit. Evelyn takes a moment to catch her breath, her heart racing. The air here is thick, and the walls are lined with strange machinery that hums softly, a stark contrast to the chaos she just escaped. As she examines her surroundings, she realizes that this chamber is filled with equipment that looks like it belongs in a sci-fi movie. Strange devices and monitors flickering with static. Their purpose is unclear. Among them, she spots a large screen displaying a series of graphs and images that seem to depict data she cannot comprehend. The graphs fluctuate wildly, and she squints to decipher the information. It appears to be a record of activity within the base, but the specifics elude her. Just then, another voice breaks through the static, a low, mechanical tone that sends chills down her spine. Unauthorized access detected. Initiating lockdown procedures. The voice echoes ominously through the chamber, and Evelyn's heart sinks. She knows she must act quickly to gather whatever information she can. As she frantically scans the room, she spots a terminal that appears to be still functional amidst the chaos. She rushes toward it, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she tries to bypass the security system. The screen blinks and flickers, displaying lines of code that flash by in rapid succession. Panic surges within her as she realizes she may not have much time before the lockdown is complete. "Come on! Come on!" she mutters under her breath, her heart pounding in rhythm with the ticking clock. The screen suddenly freezes, displaying a warning message: "Access denied." Evelyn's frustration boils over. She glances back toward the entrance, where shadows loom ominously, and knows she needs to make a choice: stay and risk being trapped, or escape with what little information she has gathered. With a deep breath, she decides to pull back and focus on escape. She quickly memorizes the layout of the terminal, taking in the data displayed before her. As she turns to leave, she hears footsteps approaching the chamber again, this time accompanied by the sound of voices arguing. They're getting closer. Evelyn's heart races as she retreats further into the shadows of the chamber, her mind racing with possibilities. The whispers from earlier echo in her mind, merging with the urgency of the men's voices. "Help us." The plea lingers, sending chills down her spine. Who are they? What have they done here? With each passing moment, Evelyn understands that she is not just a journalist in search of a story. She is a key player in a much larger game, one that involves secrets, lies, and perhaps even lives. The data she glimpsed at the terminal could hold the key to unraveling the truth, but she knows she must tread carefully. As she navigates through the labyrinth of the base, she feels a growing sense of unease. The shadows of the past converge on her path, and the weight of the unknown presses heavily on her shoulders. She knows that each step deeper into the base is a step further from safety, but the pull of the truth is too strong to resist. Evelyn finally spots a narrow exit at the far end of the chamber. She hurries toward it, her instincts guiding her as she navigates the darkened space. The voices of the men grow louder, their frustration evident as they search for her. With a final glance over her shoulder, Evelyn slips through the exit just as the men burst into the chamber. She finds herself in a dimly lit hallway that feels more claustrophobic than the chambers she has just left. The walls are lined with pipes, and the air is thick with a metallic scent. She can hear the distant hum of machinery, a reminder that she is not far from the heart of the base. Evelyn takes a deep breath, steeling herself for what lies ahead. She knows that the truth she seeks is out there, waiting for her to uncover it. And as the shadows of the past loom ever closer, she is determined to face whatever challenges await her in the depths of Dulce. Evelyn's heart raced as she slipped into the dimly lit hallway, every instinct screaming at her to move quickly and quietly. The narrow space felt oppressive, and she could hear the distant thrum of machinery, a constant reminder that she was deep within the enigmatic Dulce base. The air was thick with a metallic scent mixed with the dampness of the underground, making it hard to breathe, but she pressed on, driven by an unyielding need for answers. As she navigated the corridor, the walls seemed to close in around her, adorned with more of the strange symbols she had seen in the chamber. They glinted in the soft light of her flashlight, each mark a potential clue to the history of this place. The whispers she had heard earlier echoed in her mind, mingling with the rhythmic pulsing of the bass. "Help!" The words rang like a haunting melody, urging her to delve deeper, to find those who had called out. Turning a corner, Evelyn stumbled upon a set of heavy metal doors, slightly ajar. The sight sent a thrill of apprehension through her. She hesitated, the weight of the decisions she had made pressing down on her. Should she push through? What lay beyond those doors? The shadows loomed, whispering secrets just beyond her reach. Summoning her courage, she gently pushed the door open, the hinges creaking ominously. Inside, she found herself in a large laboratory, illuminated by the flickering overhead lights. The room was filled with an array of equipment tables cluttered with instruments, vials, and strange devices whose purposes were unclear. A bank of monitors lined one wall, each displaying various readings and graphs, some filled with numbers that made her head spin. Evelyn stepped further into the lab, her eyes darting from one bizarre contraption to another. The atmosphere was charged, saturated with the remnants of experiments and discoveries that seemed to linger in the air like a ghostly presence. It felt as if the very walls were alive with the memories of what had transpired here. On one table, she noticed a series of photographs pinned to a corkboard, a collection of images depicting various subjects, some human, some not, all with a look of confusion or fear etched across their faces. One photograph caught her eye, a close-up of an alien figure, its skin a translucent shade of green, its large, bulbous eyes staring directly into the camera. The caption below read, "Subject 47, First Contact." Evelyn's breath hitched in her throat. This was real. The evidence of extraterrestrial life was not just a myth. It was documented here, in this very place. Her mind raced with implications. What had happened to Subject 47? Was it still here? Were there more like it? As she examined the photographs, she felt a sudden chill, as if being watched. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end, and she spun around, half expecting to find someone lurking in the shadows. "Get a grip, Evelyn," she whispered to herself, trying to suppress the rising tide of fear. Taking a deep breath, she focused on the task at hand. If she was going to uncover the truth, she needed to gather as much information as possible. She approached the bank of monitors, each screen filled with data that appeared to be tracking various subjects or activities. One monitor displayed a live feed from a hallway, and she could see two figures moving about, their movements purposeful and quick. They were searching for her. A surge of panic washed over her, but she forced herself to stay calm. She had to think fast. Evelyn quickly scanned the monitors for anything useful, her eyes darting across the screens. One readout caught her attention. Experimentation log. Subject interactions. Her heart raced as she clicked on the file, praying it would provide insights into the experiments conducted at the base. The screen flickered momentarily, then displayed a series of entries detailing interactions with various subjects, including humans and extraterrestrial beings. The logs detailed a variety of experiments. Some focused on communication, others on genetic analysis. One entry stood out. Day 22. Communication established with Subject 42. Preliminary results indicate an understanding of basic human language. The implications of this were staggering. If the subjects were capable of understanding human language, what else could they comprehend? What insights could they offer about their origins and the reasons for their presence? Evelyn scribbled down the details in her notebook, her mind racing with possibilities. This was groundbreaking information, but it also raised further questions. What had the base's purpose been? Were they trying to foster understanding, or was there a more sinister objective lurking beneath the surface? Just then, the sound of footsteps grew louder, shaking her from her thoughts. She knew she had to move quickly. Frantically, she backed away from the monitors and scanned the room for an exit. Her eyes landed on a door opposite the entrance, partially obscured by a stack of crates. Without a second thought, she dashed toward it, her pulse pounding as she reached for the handle. As she reached the door, she could hear the voices of the men filtering into the lab. "We need to split up. Check all the labs. She can't have gotten far, one called out. The urgency in his voice sent a jolt of adrenaline through her. She pushed the door open and slipped into the next room, just as the men entered the lab behind her. Inside this new space, the atmosphere felt different, charged, almost electric. This room appeared to be a storage area, filled with shelves stacked high with equipment, tools, and oddly shaped containers. The dim light barely illuminated the far corners, and the shadows seemed to stretch and twist ominously. Evelyn quickly moved through the aisles, her heart racing as she searched for a place to hide. She spotted a large storage container in the back, its lid partially open. Without hesitation, she crouched down and slipped inside, pulling the lid closed just enough to create a small gap for her to see out. The darkness enveloped her, amplifying her sense of vulnerability, but she knew this was her best chance. From her hiding spot, she could hear the men's voices more clearly now, their footsteps echoing as they scoured the lab. She has to be here somewhere. We can't let her leak any information, one of them said, his tone filled with frustration. She could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on her. What would they do if they found her? What secrets were they willing to protect at all costs? She had come too far to turn back now, and the thought of being captured sent waves of fear coursing through her veins. As the seconds turned into minutes, the tension in the air grew palpable. She could hear the men moving closer, their voices growing more frantic. "Check that container. She might be hiding in there," one barked, sending a fresh wave of fear coursing through her. Evelyn's mind raced. If they opened the container, she would be exposed, her entire investigation at risk. She mustered every ounce of courage, willing herself to remain silent as the footsteps approached her hiding place. The lid of the container creaked open, and she caught a glimpse of the man peering inside. Panic surged through her as she prepared to make a dash for it, but then he turned away, barking orders to his companion. "She's not here! Keep searching!" Evelyn exhaled slowly, her heart still racing. She had narrowly avoided discovery, but she knew it was only a matter of time before they would find her. She needed to act quickly. As the men moved further, into the storage area, Evelyn took a deep breath and slipped out of the container. She crouched low, keeping to the shadows, and made her way toward the exit at the far end of the room. The sounds of the men's voices faded as they moved deeper into the labyrinthine structure, and she felt a flicker of hope. Just as she reached the door, she heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps returning. "Let's check this area again," one of the men said, their voices growing louder. Realizing she had no time to waste, Evelyn quickly pushed through the door and into the next corridor, her heart racing as she glanced back, ensuring she hadn't been seen. The hallway was dimly lit, and the air felt cooler now, sending a shiver down her spine. She took a moment to collect herself, pressing her back against the wall. Her mind raced with the information she had uncovered, and the urgency of her situation propelled her forward. This base held secrets that could change everything, if only she could escape and share what she had learned. Evelyn moved quickly but cautiously, her senses heightened as she navigated the twisting passages. The distant hum of machinery mixed with her footsteps, creating a symphony of sound that amplified her anxiety. She knew she had to find a way out, but the deeper she went, the more complicated the layout seemed. After what felt like an eternity, she stumbled upon a large door marked with a bright red sign, "Authorized personnel only." Her heart raced at the sight. This could be a way out, or it could lead her straight into more danger. With a quick glance over her shoulder, she pressed her palm against the door, feeling a strange hum beneath her fingertips. The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a brightly lit room filled with advanced technology and screens displaying incomprehensible data. Evelyn stepped inside, her curiosity piqued despite the danger. What was this place? What secrets lay within these walls? As she crossed the threshold, she was met with another sight that took her breath away. A massive control center, bustling with activity. Operators sat at their stations, their faces illuminated by the glow of monitors displaying live feeds from various parts of the base. It was a hub of activity, and it felt like stepping into the heart of the operation. Evelyn's eyes darted across the room, taking in the equipment and the people who appeared completely absorbed in their tasks. But as she took a step forward, a sharp voice cut through the air. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Evelyn froze, her heart sinking as she turned to see a security officer approaching, his expression a mix of confusion and suspicion. "You're not authorized to be in here. Step away from the console." Realizing she had no time to explain herself, Evelyn's instincts kicked in. She turned on her heel and bolted for the exit, her heart pounding as she sprinted down the corridor. The sounds of alarms blared behind her, echoing through the base as she raced for her life. Evelyn's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts as she navigated the labyrinthine structure, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She had to find a way out. She couldn't let them capture her. The knowledge she had gained was too important to be lost in the shadows of this base. As she ran, the echoes of the past and the whispers of the unknown fueled her determination. The truth was out there, hidden within the depths of Dulce, and she was determined to uncover it, no matter the cost. Suddenly, she rounded a corner and nearly collided with a group of personnel huddled around a console. Their expressions were tense, and she could see flickers of concern in their eyes. "She's in the facility! Lock it down!" one shouted, and Evelyn felt a surge of panic. They were closing in on her, and she had to think fast. She ducked into an adjacent room, hoping to find some place to hide. The room was cluttered with equipment, but as she scanned her surroundings, she noticed a ventilation shaft near the ceiling. It was her only option. With no time to waste, she quickly climbed onto a table and pulled herself up, feeling the rough edges of the metal against her palms. As she squeezed into the shaft, she could hear the voices of the men growing closer, their footsteps echoing in the hallway. "She can't get far! Check the vents!" one yelled, and Evelyn felt a jolt of fear. They were onto her, and she had to move quickly. Crawling through the narrow shaft, she felt a rush of claustrophobia. The air was stale, and the darkness enveloped her, but she pushed forward, determined to escape. As she crawled, she could hear the faint sounds of the base below machines whirring, alarms blaring, and the muffled voices of the personnel searching for her. The shaft twisted and turned, and just when she thought she might be lost, she spotted a grate that led to another room. It was a risk, but she had no choice. She kicked the grate open and dropped down, landing softly on the floor below. Evelyn quickly surveyed her surroundings. She was in what appeared to be a secure storage room, filled with crates and boxes stacked high against the walls. The air was thick with dust, and the faint smell of something chemical lingered in the air. She could hear the distant sounds of people moving above her, searching for her. She took a moment to collect her thoughts. Evelyn's heart raced as she considered her next move. She could hide among the crates, but how long could she stay there? Or should she try to find another exit? Her instincts told her to keep moving. The information she had uncovered was too important to be left behind, and she needed to find a way to escape and expose the truth. At that moment, she spotted a door at the far end of the room, slightly ajar. It was a risk, but it was also a potential escape route. With renewed determination, she crept toward the door, her heart pounding in her chest. She could hear the muffled conversations of the personnel outside, their voices growing closer. Evelyn pushed the door open just enough to peek out. The corridor was empty, but she could hear the sounds of footsteps approaching. Steeling herself, she slipped through the door and into the hallway. Her senses heightened as she moved quickly but quietly. As she advanced, her mind replayed everything she had seen and heard. The experiments, the photographs, the logs documenting the interactions with extraterrestrial beings. Each piece of information was a thread in a larger tapestry of truth that she was determined to unravel. Evelyn's heart raced as she navigated the maze of corridors, her mind focused on finding a way out. She had to get back to the surface, to share her findings with the world. The deeper she went, the more she felt the weight of the secrets pressing down on her. She turned a corner and spotted a window at the end of the corridor. It was a small, barred opening, but it offered a glimmer of hope. She rushed toward it, her heart pounding in anticipation. If she could just break through, she might be able to escape into the night. As she reached the window, she could hear the footsteps closing in behind her. She took a deep breath and prepared to push through the bars. Just as she was about to make her move, the voices of the men echoed down the corridor. She went this way. Don't let her escape. Panic surged within her. She had to act fast. With all her strength, she grasped the bars and pulled, feeling the metal bend under her efforts. The window creaked ominously, but she didn't have time to hesitate. She pushed harder, adrenaline fueling her determination. With a final grunt of effort, the bars gave way, and she tumbled through the opening, landing on the ground outside with a thud. The cool night air enveloped her, and she gasped, her heart racing from the rush of escape. She glanced back at the base, the dark silhouette looming behind her, and knew she couldn't stop now. Evelyn sprang to her feet and sprinted away from the building, the sounds of alarms fading behind her. She ran toward the tree line, her heart pounding in her chest. The truth of the Dulce base was now a part of her, and she was determined to expose it, no matter the cost. As she disappeared into the shadows of the night, the echoes of the unknown lingered in her mind, a reminder of the secrets she had uncovered and the dangers that still lay ahead. She was not just a journalist, she was a messenger of truths that the world needed to hear, and she was prepared to face whatever challenges awaited her on her journey. Evelyn sprinted through the dense underbrush, her heart pounding in rhythm with her hurried footsteps. The cool night air filled her lungs, refreshing yet heavy with the weight of her discoveries. Each step took her farther from the cold, sterile confines of the Dulce base, and deeper into the uncertainties of the outside world. She could still hear the distant alarms echoing behind her, a haunting reminder of the danger she had narrowly escaped. The moon hung high in the sky, casting silvery beams that filtered through the trees, illuminating her path as she navigated the thick foliage. She felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through her veins, mixed with the realization that she was now in possession of information that could potentially alter the course of human understanding about extraterrestrial life. The thought both exhilarated and terrified her. As she pushed through the underbrush, Evelyn's mind raced with the implications of what she had witnessed. The photographs of the alien subjects, the detailed logs of experiments conducted on communication and genetic analysis, each piece of evidence painted a picture of a reality that was far more complex than she had ever imagined. What had been done to those beings? Were they still alive? And why had the base been so adamant about keeping their experiments secret? She remembered the chilling words of the men searching for her. "We can't let her leak any information." The urgency in their voices resonated in her mind, intensifying her resolve to get this story out. It was no longer just about her curiosity or career. It was about uncovering a truth that could change humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. Emerging from the trees, she found herself at the edge of a clearing. The vast New Mexico sky stretched above her, dotted with stars that twinkled like distant lanterns. She paused for a moment, allowing the beauty of the night to wash over her, grounding her in the present. But the tranquility was fleeting. She needed to find a way to communicate her findings to the world, and fast. Evelyn hurried toward her car, which she had parked a few miles away, hidden beneath the cover of a grove of trees. Her thoughts raced as she imagined the headlines her story could generate. Would her findings be met with skepticism? Would anyone believe her? The enormity of the situation weighed heavily on her shoulders, but she knew she had to try. As she reached her car, she quickly fumbled for her keys, her hands shaking with a mix of excitement and fear. She unlocked the door and slid into the driver's seat, the familiar scent of leather and gasoline a comfort amidst the chaos. With trembling fingers, she turned the ignition, the engine sputtering to life. The sound felt like a lifeline, a reminder that she was still in control. Evelyn pulled out of the clearing and onto the dirt road that wound through the New Mexico landscape. The terrain was familiar, yet it felt foreign in the wake of what she had just experienced. The towering mountains loomed in the distance, their silhouettes sharp against the starry sky. As she drove, she replayed the events of the night in her mind, trying to piece together a coherent narrative. Her thoughts turned to the device she had stashed in her jacket. It felt heavy against her chest, a tangible reminder of the secrets hidden within the Dulce base. She needed to examine it further, to understand its purpose and how it might relate to the experiments she had uncovered. Perhaps it held the key to unlocking more information about the beings she had encountered. After a tense drive filled with self-doubt and apprehension, she finally arrived at her small apartment in Albuquerque. Evelyn parked her car hastily and rushed inside, locking the door behind her. The familiar surroundings of her home felt like a sanctuary, yet the urgency of her situation loomed large. She had to act quickly. Evelyn moved to her desk, cluttered with notes, books, and remnants of her past investigations. She cleared a space and laid out the photographs and notes she had gathered from the base. Each piece of evidence seemed to pulse with energy, demanding her attention. She could almost hear the whispers again, urging her to reveal what she had discovered. As she settled into her chair, she pulled out the metallic device from her jacket. It gleamed under the soft light of her desk lamp, its intricate patterns swirling like a cosmic dance. She turned it over in her hands, examining the surface closely. It felt warm to the touch, as if it were alive with energy. Evelyn reached for her laptop, eager to document her findings and begin crafting her story. She opened a new document and began typing furiously, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "The Dulce base," she wrote, "a secret underground facility that has conducted experiments on extraterrestrial beings. Evidence of life beyond our planet exists, hidden beneath layers of secrecy and deception." As she worked, her mind raced with possibilities. How could she present the information without being dismissed as a conspiracy theorist? The stakes were high, and she knew she had to be meticulous in her presentation. With each sentence, she felt the weight of her responsibility grow. This was not just about her career, it was about the truth. Hours passed as she pored over her notes, cross-referencing data and weaving a narrative that would capture the attention of her readers. The early morning light began to filter through her window, casting a soft glow across her workspace. She was exhausted but fueled by a sense of purpose. She would not let her discoveries fade into obscurity. Just as she was about to hit save, her phone buzzed on the desk, jolting her from her thoughts. The caller ID showed an unknown number, but something compelled her to answer. "Hello?" she said cautiously, her heart racing. "Evelyn," a voice replied, calm yet urgent. "We need to talk. You're in danger." The words sent a chill down her spine. "Who is this?" she demanded, her mind racing. "How do you know my name? I can't explain everything right now. You have information that certain people will do anything to keep hidden. You need to trust me." The voice was steady, but there was an underlying tension that made her uneasy. Evelyn's instincts kicked in. "Why should I trust you?" she asked, narrowing her eyes. "How do I know you're not one of them?" "Because I know about the device," the voice said, and her breath caught in her throat. "I know what you found in the Dulce base. Meet me at the diner on Route 66 inches 1 hour. It's important." Before she could respond, the line went dead. Evelyn stared at her phone, the weight of the conversation settling heavily on her shoulders. Was this a trap, or was it a genuine plea for help? She had no way of knowing, but the urgency of the situation pushed her to act. She quickly gathered her notes and the device, slipping them into her bag. The diner on Route 66 was a familiar place, a relic of the past where travelers stopped for coffee and comfort food. It was a public space, which might provide some safety if things went awry. But the thought of walking into a potential trap sent a surge of anxiety through her. With a deep breath, Evelyn forced herself to focus. She had come too far to back down now. She needed allies, and if this mysterious caller was genuine, they might hold the key to unlocking even more secrets about the Dulce base. After a quick shower and a change of clothes, Evelyn grabbed her bag and headed out the door. The morning sun greeted her, brightening the world around her, but she felt the weight of uncertainty lingering in the air. She drove toward the diner, her mind racing with questions. Who was this person? What more did they know? And how was she going to protect herself and her findings? As she pulled into the diner's parking lot, her heart raced. The familiar neon sign flickered brightly, a beacon in the desert landscape. She parked and took a moment to gather her thoughts, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead. Evelyn stepped into the diner, the bell above the door jingling softly as she entered. The scent of coffee and fresh pastries enveloped her, a comforting contrast to the tension that had gripped her since she had fled the base. She scanned the room, looking for a familiar face, but the booths were filled with strangers, each absorbed in their own conversations. Taking a deep breath, she chose a booth near the back, a strategic position that allowed her to observe the entrance while remaining somewhat hidden. She ordered a cup of coffee, her hands trembling slightly as she waited for her drink. The minutes felt like hours, each tick of the clock amplifying her anxiety. The din of chatter faded into the background as she focused on the door, her pulse quickening with each new arrival. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the door swung open and a figure stepped inside. Evelyn's breath caught in her throat as she recognized the man from the photograph she had seen in the lab. He was tall, with dark hair and a serious expression, wearing a worn leather jacket that seemed to carry the weight of many secrets. He scanned the diner, his gaze landing on her as he approached. "Evelyn," he said, sliding into the booth across from her. "I'm glad you came." "Who are you?" she asked. trying to keep her voice steady despite the rush of adrenaline coursing through her veins. "How do you know about me and the base?" He leaned in closer, his voice low. "My name is Alex. I used to work at Dulce. I know what they're hiding, and I can help you, but you need to understand the risks involved." Evelyn's heart raced. "What are you talking about? What do you mean you used to work there?" "Let's just say I had a change of heart," he replied, his eyes darting around the diner as if checking for eavesdroppers. "I can't go back, not after what I've seen, but I can't let you walk away without knowing the whole truth." As he spoke, she felt a mix of anxiety and curiosity. This was the moment she had been waiting for the opportunity to uncover the deeper layers of the Dulce base and the experiments conducted within its walls. "What do you know?" she pressed, leaning forward, her voice barely above a whisper. Alex looked around once more before continuing. The experiments at Dulce were not just about communication or analysis. They were about control, understanding how to manipulate not just the beings they captured, but the information that humanity receives about them. There are factions within the government that want to keep this knowledge under wraps, and they will do anything to silence anyone who threatens that secrecy. Evelyn's mind spun with the implications of his words. "You mean to say that there are people who know the truth and are actively suppressing it?" "Exactly," he replied, his expression grave. "And they're not just watching from the shadows. They have eyes everywhere, and they won't hesitate to eliminate threats." Her heart raced at the thought. She had already felt the flying pressure of being hunted, but this revelation took it to another level. "What do you suggest we do?" she asked, determination rising within her. "I can't let this go. The world needs to know." Alex nodded, the intensity of his gaze unwavering. "We need to gather evidence more than what you already have. We need to connect with others who believe in this cause, but we have to be careful. They are always watching." Evelyn felt a surge of hope mixed with fear. This was the ally she needed, someone who understood the dangers and was willing to fight alongside her. "What's our next move?" she asked, her voice steady. "We need to find a safe place to continue our discussion and strategize," Alex replied. "I have a contact who can help us. But first, we need to get out of here before anyone notices we're together." Evelyn nodded, her heart racing at the thought of the path ahead. Together, they would uncover the truth hidden within the shadows of the Dulce base. Together, they would face the unknown. As they stood to leave, Evelyn felt a renewed sense of purpose. The path to revelation was fraught with danger, but she was ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. The truth was out there, and she was determined to bring it to light. As they exited the diner, the bright sunlight hit Evelyn's face, a stark contrast to the dim lighting inside. She squinted, her instincts on high alert. The diner was located on a busy stretch of Route 66, with cars passing by and travelers stopping for gas and food. She could see the vast, open road ahead, but it felt like a maze of uncertainty. "Where to now?" she asked, her voice steady despite the apprehension that churned in her stomach. Alex glanced around, his expression thoughtful. "There's a place a few miles from here, a safe house owned by someone I trust. We can lay low there while we figure out our next steps." His tone was calm, but Evelyn could sense the urgency beneath it. There was a clock ticking, and they needed to move quickly. They climbed into Alex's car, a nondescript sedan that blended in with the other vehicles on the road. As he drove, the landscape outside changed, the vast desert giving way to more populated areas. Evelyn focused on the passing scenery, her mind racing with possibilities and fears. What if they were followed? What if the men from the base were already onto her? "Are we being followed?" she finally blurted out, unable to suppress the rising tension in her chest. Alex glanced in the rearview mirror, his brow furrowing. "Not that I can see, but we can't be too careful. Stay alert." His voice was steady, but Evelyn could hear the underlying tension. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. As they drove, they fell into a conversation about their respective experiences. Alex shared snippets of his time at the base, detailing the experiments that had left him disillusioned. "I joined because I believed we were on the brink of something incredible," he said, his voice tinged with regret. "But the reality was far darker than I could have imagined. We were playing God, and the consequences were devastating." Evelyn listened intently, her heart heavy with empathy. "What did you see?" she asked, eager to understand the full scope of his experiences. "Subjects being subjected to procedures that were inhumane, all in the name of science. Some were treated like lab rats, while others were used for technology we couldn't even begin to comprehend, he replied, his gaze focused on the road ahead. I couldn't be part of it anymore. I had to leave. The gravity of his words settled over her. What about the beings? Are they still there? I don't know, he admitted, his voice low. But I fear for them. They're not just experiments. They're living beings with their own stories, their own experiences. They deserve to be free. Evelyn felt a surge of determination rising within her. This wasn't just about uncovering secrets. It was about justice for those who had been wronged. We have to do something, she said, her voice filled with conviction. We can't let what's happening there continue unnoticed. Alex nodded, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. That's why I'm here. Together, we can amplify our voices. If we gather enough evidence, we can create a narrative that can't be ignored. As they approached the safe house, a small, unassuming cottage nestled between larger buildings, Evelyn's heart raced with anticipation. This was the first step toward uncovering the truth, a place where they could strategize and plan their next move. They parked the car and walked toward the entrance, the weight of their mission pressing down on them. Alex knocked on the door, and it swung open to reveal a woman in her late 50s, her expression warm yet cautious. Alex, you made it, she said, pulling him into a brief embrace before her gaze shifted to Evelyn. And you must be Evelyn. I've heard a lot about you. Thank you for letting us come here, Evelyn said, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions churning within her. Come in, both of you, the woman said, stepping aside to let them enter. The interior of the safe house was cozy, filled with knickknacks and photographs that told stories of a life well lived. It felt like a refuge, a stark contrast to the coldness of the Dulce base. Once inside, Alex introduced them and explained the situation. The woman, whose name was Sarah, listened intently, her expression growing serious as they recounted their experiences. I've been waiting for someone to come forward with the truth, she said, her voice filled with conviction. The world deserves to know what's really happening, and I'm here to help in any way I can. Evelyn felt a sense of relief wash over her. She had found allies, people who believed in the Mostar cause and were willing to fight alongside her. What can we do? She asked, her determination renewed. Sarah gestured for them to sit at the small dining table, where papers were strewn about, filled with notes and sketches. We need to create a plan. First, we must compile all the evidence you have. Photographs, logs, and any data you can gather. The more we have, the stronger our case. Evelyn nodded, her mind racing with ideas. I have the device I found at the base. It might hold valuable information, but I need to figure out how to access it. She could feel the weight of the device pressing against her side, a reminder of the mysteries it contained. Let's start there, Alex said, leaning forward. If we can unlock its secrets, it could provide crucial evidence of what they've been doing. We need to know what it was designed for and how it relates to the experiments. As they gathered around the table, the atmosphere shifted from one of uncertainty to focused determination. Evelyn laid out her findings, sharing everything she had uncovered about the Dulce base and the experiments that had taken place there. With each detail, she felt a sense of purpose strengthening within her. This was no longer just her fight. It was a collective effort to expose the truth. Hours passed as they brainstormed and strategized, piecing together a plan that felt both ambitious and necessary. They discussed reaching out to other whistleblowers, journalists, and activists who had been silenced or ignored in the past. We need to build a network of people who can help amplify our voices, Sarah suggested. If we can gather enough momentum, the truth will be harder to suppress. Evelyn felt a surge of hope as they outlined their next steps. We should document everything, create a timeline of events and actions taken at the base. This will help us present a clear narrative to the public, she said, her mind racing with ideas. As the sun began to set outside, casting a warm glow through the windows, Evelyn felt a renewed sense of purpose. The warm glow of the setting sun filtered through the windows of the safe house, casting long shadows across the table where Evelyn, Alex, and Sarah sat. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation as they prepared to dive into the depths of the evidence Evelyn had collected. Each piece of information felt like a thread in a complex tapestry, and together they were determined to weave it into a coherent narrative that could not be ignored. Let's start with the device, Evelyn said, her voice steady with a mix of excitement and trepidation. She reached into her bag and pulled out the metallic object, placing it gently on the table. It gleamed under the soft light, intricate designs and symbols etched across its surface, inviting scrutiny and speculation. I found this in the Dulce base. I believe it's a key to understanding what they were doing down there. Alex leaned forward, his eyes narrowing as he examined the device with a keen interest. Have you tried to activate it or access any of its functions? He asked, his voice filled with curiosity and a hint of urgency. Not yet, Evelyn admitted, a flicker of hesitation crossing her face. I wanted to wait until I had someone knowledgeable to help me. The technology seemed advanced, and I didn't want to risk damaging it or triggering something unintentionally. Sarah nodded, her expression thoughtful and focused. We need to be careful. If it's as advanced as you say, who knows what kind of safeguards they've built into it. But if we can figure out how it works, it may provide crucial data about the experiments and the beings involved. Evelyn felt a rush of determination. Let's try to access it. I have a feeling this could lead us to the answers we need. They gathered closer around the table, the device placed prominently in the center, its metallic surface reflecting the photo, light as if it were alive. Alex carefully picked it up, scrutinizing every angle and seam. There might be a power source or interface we can use. It's possible that it connects to a computer or another device for data transfer, he explained, his fingers tracing the swirling patterns. These symbols might represent some sort of function or command. If we can decipher them, we could unlock its capabilities. As Alex worked, Sarah and Evelyn began to brainstorm potential avenues for research. We should look into any existing technology that resembles this device, Sarah suggested, her eyes bright with ideas. If it was created or used at Dulce, there might be records or references elsewhere, perhaps in government archives or among other whistleblowers. Evelyn nodded vigorously, her mind racing with possibilities. I could reach out to some of my contacts in investigative journalism. They might have insights into similar technologies or connections to other sources who have information. Good idea, Alex replied, his focus still on the device. The more angles we explore, the better our chances of piecing together the full story. We need to be proactive and gather as much evidence as we can. Hours passed as they worked collaboratively, with Alex meticulously examining the device's exterior for any signs of functionality. Evelyn felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. What if they found something that could expose the truth? Or what if they triggered a security measure that put them all in danger? Finally, after an intense period of investigation, Alex looked up, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. I think I've found something. There's a small compartment here that looks like it might house a power source. If we can get it operational, we might be able to tap into its data. Evelyn's heart raced. What do we need to do? Alex carefully opened the compartment, revealing a small crystalline battery embedded within. This is a power source, but it looks like it's been designed to only function with specific input. If we can figure out how to power it up, we could access whatever data is stored inside. Can you do it? Sarah asked, leaning in closer. Her curiosity piqued. I think so, Alex replied confidently, yet with a hint of caution in his voice. But I'll need a bit of time to work through the process. We also have to be mindful of any protective measures. If this device is as sophisticated as I suspect, it might have fail-safes that could trigger if we don't follow the correct procedure. Evelyn felt a surge of determination. Let's do this. We can't let fear hold us back. The truth is worth the risk. As Alex began to methodically connect the power source, Evelyn and Sarah worked on gathering additional information. Evelyn reached for her laptop and began to search for any existing documentation related to the Dulce base, focusing on government reports and whistleblower accounts. She felt a sense of urgency as she navigated through various sources, her fingers flying over the keyboard, the glow of the screen illuminating her focused expression. Here's something, Evelyn said, her voice filled with excitement as she found a government report on classified research projects. It mentions experimental technologies and references to alien life forms. This could be valuable. Sarah leaned over, her eyes scanning the screen. We should download this and save it for our records. Any evidence we can gather will strengthen our case. Alex glanced up from the device, a hint of a smile on his face. You two are doing great. Keep it coming. Every little bit helps us build a stronger narrative. As they continued to work, the atmosphere shifted from one of uncertainty to one of focused determination. They were no longer just individuals searching for answers. They were a team, united by a common goal. After what felt like hours, Alex finally announced, "I think I have it." He stepped back from the device, his expression a mixture of excitement and caution. "I'm going to power it up. Everyone ready?" Evelyn and Sarah exchanged glances, their hearts racing in anticipation. "Ready," they both said in unison, their voices laced with a blend of hope and trepidation. With a deep breath, Alex initiated the activation sequence. The device hummed to life, and a soft glow emanated from its surface. Symbols began to light up in a mesmerizing pattern, casting a warm light across the room. Evelyn felt a rush of exhilaration. This was it, the moment they had been waiting for. "What's happening?" Sarah asked, her eyes wide with awe and anxiety. "I think it's booting up," Alex replied, his gaze fixed on the device. "If it's anything like other advanced technology, it should provide us with access to its data." Evelyn leaned closer, her pulse quickening as she saw various folders labeled with terms like experiments, subjects, and data logs. "This is incredible," she breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "We can access everything they've been hiding. Let's start with the experiments folder," Alex suggested, his fingers poised over the interface. "That should give us insights into what they were actually doing at the base." As he clicked through the folders, a cascade of information poured forth. Videos, images, and detailed logs illuminated the screen, each file more shocking than the last. Evelyn felt her heart race as she read through the entries, each one revealing the extent of the experiments conducted on sentient beings. "Subject 42, Alex read aloud, his voice steady yet filled with disbelief. "Communication established. Preliminary results show understanding of basic human language. Subject shows signs of emotional responses." He paused, glancing at Evelyn and Sarah. They were studying these beings like lab rats. Evelyn felt a mix of anger and sadness wash over her. This is inhumane. They deserve to be treated with dignity, not as experiments. Her heart ached for the beings trapped within the confines of the base, their lives reduced to mere data points. As they continued to sift through the information, they uncovered horrifying details about the experiment's forced genetic manipulation, psychological conditioning, and attempts to create hybrid beings that combined human and alien DNA. Each revelation felt like a dagger to Evelyn's heart, fueling her resolve to expose the truth. "We can't keep this to ourselves," Sarah said, her voice filled with urgency. "We need to get this information out to the public. People need to know what's happening beneath their feet." "Absolutely," Evelyn agreed, her determination solidifying. "We have to plan our next move carefully. If the government is watching us, we can't afford to make any mistakes." As they continued to explore the device, gathering as much data as they could, Evelyn felt a sense of unity forming between them. They were no longer just allies. They had become a family, united by a shared purpose. With each piece of evidence they uncovered, they were one step closer to revealing the truth. After hours of diligent work, they finally compiled enough evidence to create a comprehensive dossier. Alex saved the files on a secure flash drive, ensuring they would have multiple backups in case anything went wrong. "This is just the beginning," he said, his voice filled with conviction. "We need to find trusted contacts who can help us spread this information further." Evelyn nodded, her heart racing at the thought of the journey ahead. "We need to be strategic. If the government is watching us, we can't afford to make any mistakes." As they prepared to leave the safe house, Evelyn felt a surge of hope mixed with trepidation. They were on the cusp of something monumental. But the road ahead was fraught with danger. The stakes had never been higher, and she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With their plan in place and the weight of the truth on their shoulders, they stepped out into the night, ready to unravel the threads of deception that had kept the world in the dark for far too long. The cool evening air greeted them, and Evelyn took a moment to breathe it in, feeling a sense of clarity in the chill. The stars twinkled brightly above, a vast expanse of possibilities stretching out before them. "What's our first move?" she asked, turning to Alex and Sarah, her mind racing with plans. Alex glanced at the flash drive in his hand, the weight of it symbolizing the burden of knowledge they now carried. "We need to reach out to someone who can help us get this information to the public. There's a journalist I know, someone who has been investigating similar issues for years. She's reliable and has connections that could amplify our message." "Do you trust her?" Evelyn asked, her brow furrowing slightly. "Absolutely," Alex replied without hesitation. "She's been a beacon of integrity in this field. If anyone can help us, it's her. Evelyn felt a surge of relief at his confidence. Then let's do it. What's her name? Her name is Nora Green, Alex said, a hint of admiration in his voice. She's been covering government secrets and whistleblower stories for a long time. If she believes us, she can help us get this information out to the right channels. Do we have a way to contact her safely? Evelyn asked, her mind racing with the implications of reaching out to someone in the media. Would they be putting Nora in danger? I have her number, Alex replied, pulling out his phone. But we should be cautious. Let's make the call from a burner phone something untraceable. We can't take any chances. Good thinking, Evelyn said, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and apprehension. They had to take every precaution to safeguard themselves and the information they were handling. As they drove to a nearby convenience store, the streets were eerily quiet, the hum of city life fading into the background. Evelyn felt a knot of tension forming in her stomach, the weight of their mission pressing down on her like a physical force. What if they were caught? What if the government was already onto them? Once inside the store, Alex quickly purchased a prepaid burner phone, his movements smooth and practiced. They stepped outside, the cool air sending a shiver down Evelyn's spine. Okay, let's do this, Alex said, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. He dialed Nora's number, and they waited, the sound of the ringing echoing in Evelyn's ears. Each ring felt like an eternity, and she couldn't help but wonder what would happen if Nora answered. Would she believe them? Would she be willing to help? Finally, the line connected, and a voice came through. Hello? Nora, it's Alex, he said, his tone urgent yet controlled. I need to talk to you about something important. It's about the Dulce base. There was a brief pause, and Evelyn could hear the faint sound of shuffling on the other end. Alex? Is everything okay? How? I'm with a couple of people who've uncovered some serious information. We need to meet and discuss it in person. It's urgent, Alex said, his voice steady. Where are you? Nora asked, her tone shifting to one of concern. Can you meet us at the old diner on Route 66? It's a safe place, he replied. Give me 10 minutes, she said quickly. I'll be there. After hanging up, Alex turned to Evelyn and Sarah, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. She's on her way. We need to be ready to present everything we've gathered. Evelyn nodded, her heart racing with anticipation. This was a critical moment, and they had to make it count. Let's make sure we have all the evidence organized and ready to share. We need to be as compelling as possible. As they drove to the diner, the atmosphere was thick with tension and expectation. Evelyn's thoughts raced with possibilities. What would Nora say? Would she take them seriously? The weight of their findings felt monumental, and she was acutely aware of the responsibility they carried to share the truth. The diner came into view, its neon lights glowing warmly against the darkening sky. It was a familiar sight, a place where many stories had been shared over cups of coffee and plates of comfort food. They parked and quickly made their way inside, the bell above the door jingling softly as they entered. Evelyn took a deep breath, her gaze scanning the room. The diner was nearly empty, with only a few patrons scattered throughout. They chose a booth near the back, giving them a strategic view of the entrance, while also allowing for some privacy. Moments later, the door swung open and Nora stepped inside. She was a striking woman with short, dark hair and sharp features that conveyed both intelligence and determination. As her eyes scanned the room, they landed on Alex, and she made her way over, extending her hand. Alex, it's good to see you, she said, her tone friendly, but laced with curiosity. Thanks for coming, Nora, Alex replied, shaking her hand firmly. I need you to meet Evelyn and Sarah. We have some urgent information to share. Nora's eyes shifted to Evelyn and Sarah, her expression shifting to one of seriousness. What's going on? She asked, her voice dropping slightly. Evelyn felt a surge of nerves as she introduced herself. We've uncovered some disturbing information about the Dulce base, and we think it's vital that you see it. Nora nodded, her interest piqued. I've heard rumours about that place, but nothing concrete. What do you have? Alex slid the flash drive across the table. This contains evidence of experiments being conducted on extraterrestrial beings. We believe they are being kept against their will and subjected to inhumane treatment. Nora's brow furrowed as she took the flash drive, her expression turning serious. This is a big claim. Do you have any proof? Evelyn felt a rush of determination. We have logs, photographs, and detailed accounts of the experiments. If you take a look, I think you'll understand the urgency of the situation. Nora leaned forward, her eyes narrowing as she considered the implications. If what you're saying is true, this could be explosive, but we need to be careful. The last thing we want is to tip off anyone who might be monitoring us. Evelyn nodded, a sense of urgency coursing through her veins. We understand the risks, but this is too important to stay hidden. We need to get this information out to the public. Nora's gaze was intense as she weighed their words. I want to help, she said finally, her voice steady. But we need to plan carefully. If there are people out there who want to keep this secret, they will do anything to stop us. As they discussed their strategy, Evelyn felt a mix of fear and hope. They were on the cusp of something monumental, and the road ahead was fraught with danger. But together, they were stronger, and they had the potential to shine a light on the dark secrets hidden beneath the surface. The diner buzzed with a low hum of conversation, the scent of coffee and breakfast foods filling the air, as Evelyn, Alex, and Nora huddled together in their booth. The weight of their mission pressed down on them, but in the midst of uncertainty, a shared sense of purpose ignited their determination. The flash drive containing their damning evidence sat heavily on the table, a tangible reminder of the truth they were about to reveal. Nora leaned in closer, lowering her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. Okay, we need to outline our next day. Steps carefully. If we're going to go public with this, we need a solid plan. I want to ensure we have the facts straight and a reliable way to present them. Evelyn nodded, her heart racing with anticipation. Agreed. We need to prepare a comprehensive report that details everything we've uncovered. The evidence on that flash drive is crucial, but we need context to make it compelling. We should highlight the ethical implications of what's happening at the Dulce base. Alex interjected, his eyes alight with determination. We also need to consider how we're going to reach the public. If we just release the information online, it could easily be dismissed or buried. We need to find a way to get it into the mainstream media. Exactly, Nora replied, her tone sharp. I have connections at several news outlets that might be interested in a story like this, but I'll need to vet them first. We can't risk sharing our information with someone who may not have our best interests at heart. Evelyn leaned back, taking a moment to process the enormity of what they were discussing. What about a press conference? If we can gather enough media attention, it might force the government to respond. We could present our findings in a way that's difficult to ignore. Alex nodded thoughtfully. A press conference could work, but we'll need to have everything ready before we make that call. We should compile our evidence into a presentation, along with a well-prepared statement outlining the situation. Nora's expression shifted, a hint of concern crossing her face. We also have to think about security. If there are people out there trying to keep this quiet, they might come after us. We need to be smart about how we proceed. Evelyn felt a chill run down her spine at the thought. You're right. We should consider setting up a secure communication channel to discuss sensitive information, and we may need to find a safe location to meet for planning. Let's use encrypted messaging apps for our communications, Nora suggested. That way, we can minimize the risk of anyone intercepting our conversations. We can also set up a secure email account for sharing documents. As they continued brainstorming, the weight of their mission loomed larger with every passing moment. Evelyn felt a mixture of excitement and dread. They were on the brink of exposing a truth that could change everything, but the risks involved were daunting. After laying out their initial plan, Nora glanced at her watch. We should get moving. Time is of the essence, and I want to start reaching out to my contacts while the information is fresh in my mind. She slid the flash drive into her pocket, treating it like a precious gem. I'll start preparing a detailed outline of our findings and potential angles for the story. Let's meet back here tomorrow evening, Alex suggested. We can review what we've gathered and finalize our presentation. I'll reach out to some of my connections to see if they can help amplify our message. Evelyn nodded, her heart pounding with a mix of anxiety and exhilaration. We'll do this, together. As they left the diner, the sun had dipped below the horizon, leaving the sky painted in shades of orange and purple. The world outside felt different now, charged with a sense of urgency and purpose. They were no longer just individuals. They were a team, united by a shared mission to uncover the truth. The drive home was filled with a palpable tension. Evelyn's mind raced with thoughts of what lay ahead. Would they face resistance? Would they be able to gather enough support to make a real difference? As she pulled into her driveway, She couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking a tightrope, balancing between discovery and danger. Once inside her apartment, Evelyn set to work immediately. She opened her laptop, the screen illuminating the room in a soft glow. She began drafting her thoughts, outlining the major points they needed to cover in their presentation. The weight of the evidence felt monumental, and she wanted to do it justice. Hours slipped by as she pored over her notes, her fingers flying over the keyboard. She meticulously crafted a narrative that would highlight the ethical implications of the experiments, the human rights violations, and the potential consequences of keeping such a monumental secret hidden from the world. Just as she was about to save her progress, a loud knock echoed through her apartment, causing her heart to leap into her throat. She froze, listening intently as the knock came again, more insistent this time. Who could it be at this hour? Evelyn approached the door cautiously, peering through the peephole. Her heart raced as she recognized the silhouette on the other side, Alex. She opened the door, relief flooding over her. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice a mix of surprise and concern. "I didn't want to wait until tomorrow," he replied, stepping inside and closing the door behind him. "I thought we could go over some of the evidence together. I have some ideas I want to run by you." Evelyn nodded, grateful for his presence. "Of course. I was just working on the presentation. I think we need to focus on the human aspect of the story. We can't forget that these are real lives at stake." "I agree," Alex said, pulling out a folder filled with documents. "I've compiled some additional information from my contacts that could help strengthen our case. We need to make sure we're covering every angle." As they settled into her living room, the atmosphere shifted from one of uncertainty to focused collaboration. They spread out their materials, the table quickly becoming cluttered with notes, documents, and the flash drive. Each piece of paper seemed to pulse with the weight of the truth they were about to reveal. "Let's start with the experiments," Evelyn suggested, her voice steady. "We need to emphasize the inhumane treatment of the subjects. This isn't just about technology, it's about the ethical implications of what they're doing." Alex nodded thoughtfully as he sifted through the documents. "I found some reports detailing the psychological effects on the subjects. They were subjected to extreme stress and manipulation. This is critical evidence that shows the human cost of these experiments." Evelyn felt a surge of anger as she read through the notes. They're treating these beings like test subjects rather than sentient beings. This is a violation of everything we stand for. Her voice trembled with emotion as she thought of the beings trapped within the base, their lives reduced to mere data points. As they continued to work, the hours slipped away, and the weight of their mission began to feel more tangible. Each piece of evidence they uncovered added to the urgency of their cause. They were no longer just reporting facts, they were standing up for those who could not stand for themselves. As dawn broke, casting a soft light into the room, Evelyn felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had gathered a wealth of information, and she was confident that together they could shine a light on the dark secrets hidden beneath the surface. "Let's take a break," Alex suggested, rubbing his eyes. "We've been at this all night." Evelyn nodded, fatigue creeping in. "I could use a moment to clear my head." They stepped outside onto her balcony, the cool morning air invigorating. As they stood together, looking out over the city, Evelyn felt a sense of camaraderie with Alex that she hadn't anticipated. This journey had changed them both. "Whatever happens next, I'm glad we're in this together," she said, breaking the silence. "Me too," Alex replied, his gaze steady on her. "We're making a difference, Evelyn. One way or another, we're going to get the truth out there." As they stood side by side, a sense of determination filled the air. The storm was gathering, and they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would unravel the threads of deception and reveal the truth hidden within the shadows of the Dulce base. The day wore on, and Evelyn found herself in a whirlwind of thoughts and plans. After their brief respite, they returned to the living room, energized by the fresh air and determined to make progress. The clock ticked steadily, reminding them that time was of the essence. "I think we should create a timeline of events," Alex suggested as he flipped through the documents. "If we present a clear sequence of what's been happening at the Dulce base, it can help paint the picture for anyone who reads our report." "That's a great idea," Evelyn agreed, her mind already racing ahead. "We can start with the initial reports of the base, then move into the more recent experiments. It will show a pattern of behavior, an escalation of the actions taken by those in charge. As they worked on the timeline, they filled in the gaps with details from the documents, creating a cohesive narrative that illustrated the dark history of the base. Each entry felt like a step closer to exposing the truth, and with every detail they added, Evelyn's resolve grew stronger. What about the potential whistleblowers? Nora had suggested earlier. We could reach out to anyone who might have information or who has worked there before. The more voices we have, the more credible our story becomes. That's a good point, Alex said, tapping his fingers on the table thoughtfully. If we can find others willing to come forward, it would add weight to our claims and provide further evidence of the wrongdoing happening at the base. Evelyn's mind raced with possibilities. I could contact some of the people I know who have connections in the blah scientific community. They might have heard stories or rumors about the base that could lend credence to our findings. Let's make a list of potential contacts, Alex said, gathering a notepad and pen. We need to be strategic about who we reach out to. It wouldn't hurt to prepare a brief overview of our findings to share with them, in case they're willing to talk. As they continued to brainstorm, the atmosphere in the room shifted from one of uncertainty to focused collaboration. They were no longer just individuals searching for answers. They were a team, united by a common goal. After hours of diligent work, they finally compiled enough evidence to create a comprehensive dossier. Alex saved the files on a secure flash drive, ensuring they would have multiple backups in case anything went wrong. This is just the beginning, he said, his voice filled with conviction. We need to find trusted contacts who can help us spread this information further. Evelyn nodded, her heart racing at the thought of the journey ahead. We need to be strategic. If the government is watching us, we can't afford to make any mistakes. With their plan in place and the weight of the truth on their shoulders, they stepped out into the night, ready to unravel the threads of deception that had kept the world in the dark for far too long. The cool evening air greeted them, and Evelyn took a moment to breathe it in, feeling a sense of clarity in the chill. The stars twinkled brightly above, a vast expanse of possibilities stretching out before them. "What's our first move?" she asked, turning to Alex and Sarah, her mind racing with plans. Alex glanced at the flash drive in his hand, the weight of it symbolizing the burden of knowledge they now carried. "We need to reach out to someone who can help us get this information to the public. There's a journalist I know, someone who has been investigating similar issues for years. She's reliable and has connections that could amplify our message." "Do you trust her?" Evelyn asked, her brow furrowing slightly. "Absolutely," Alex replied without hesitation. "She's been a beacon of integrity in this field. If anyone can help us, it's her." Evelyn felt a surge of relief at his confidence. "Then let's do it. What's her name?" "Her name is Nora Green," Alex said, a hint of admiration in his voice. "She's been covering government secrets and whistleblower stories for a long time. If she believes us, she can help us get this information out to the right channels." "Do we have a way to contact her safely?" Evelyn asked, her mind racing with the implications of reaching out to someone in the media. Would they be putting Nora in danger? "I have her number," Alex replied, pulling out his phone. "But we should be cautious. Let's make the call from a burner phone something untraceable. We can't take any chances." "Good thinking," Evelyn said, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and apprehension. They had to take every precaution to safeguard themselves and the information they were handling. As they drove to a nearby convenience store, the streets were eerily quiet, the hum of city life fading into the background. Evelyn felt a knot of tension forming in her stomach, the weight of their mission pressing down on her like a physical force. What if they were caught? What if the government was already onto them? Once inside the store, Alex quickly purchased a prepaid burner phone, his movements smooth and practiced. They stepped outside, the cool air sending a shiver down Evelyn's spine. "Okay, let's do this," Alex said, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. He dialed Nora's number, and they waited, the sound of the ringing echoing in Evelyn's ears. Each ring felt like an eternity, and she couldn't help but wonder what would happen if Nora answered. Would she believe them? Would she be willing to help? Finally, the line connected, and a voice came through. "Hello?" "Nora, it's Alex," he said, his tone urgent yet controlled. "I need to talk to you about something important. It's about the Dulce base." There was a brief pause, and Evelyn could hear the faint sound of shuffling on the other end. "Alex, is everything okay?" I'm with a couple of people who have uncovered some serious information. We need to meet and discuss it in person. It's urgent, Alex said, his voice steady. Where are you? Nora asked, her tone shifting to one of concern. Can you meet us at the old diner on Route 66? It's a safe place, he replied. Give me 10 minutes, she said quickly. I'll be there. After hanging up, Alex turned to Evelyn and Sarah, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. She's on her way. We need to be ready to present everything we've gathered. Evelyn nodded, her heart racing with anticipation. This was a critical moment, and they had to make it count. Let's make sure we have all the evidence organized and ready to share. We need to be as compelling as possible. As they drove to the diner, the atmosphere was thick with tension and expectation. Evelyn's thoughts raced with possibilities. What would Nora say? Would she take them seriously? The weight of their findings felt monumental, and she was acutely aware of the responsibility they carried to share the truth. The diner came into view, its neon lights glowing warmly against the darkening sky. It was a familiar sight, a place where many stories had been shared over cups of coffee and plates of comfort food. They parked and quickly made their way inside, the bell above the door jingling softly as they entered. Evelyn took a deep breath, her gaze scanning the room. The diner was nearly empty, with only a few patrons scattered throughout. They chose a booth near the back, giving them a strategic view of the entrance while also allowing for some privacy. Moments later, the door swung open, and Nora stepped inside. She was a striking woman with short, dark hair and sharp features that conveyed both intelligence and determination. As her eyes scanned the room, they landed on Alex, and she made her way over, extending her hand. Alex, it's good to see you, she said, her tone friendly but laced with curiosity. Thanks for coming, Nora, Alex replied, shaking her hand firmly. I need you to meet Evelyn and Sarah. We have some urgent information to share. Nora's eyes shifted to Evelyn and Sarah, her expression shifting to one of seriousness. What's going on? She asked, her voice dropping slightly. Evelyn felt a surge of nerves as she introduced herself. We've uncovered some disturbing information about the Dulce base, and we think it's vital that you see it. Nora nodded, her interest piqued. I've heard rumors about that place, but nothing concrete. What do you have? Alex slid the flash. Drive across the table. This contains evidence of experiments being conducted on extraterrestrial beings. We believe they are being kept against their will and subjected to inhumane treatment. Nora's brow furrowed as she took the flash drive, her expression turning serious. This is a big claim. Do you have any proof? Evelyn felt a rush of determination. We have logs, photographs, and detailed accounts of the experiments. If you take a look, I think you'll understand the urgency of the situation. Nora leaned forward, her eyes narrowing as she considered the implications. If what you're saying is true, this could be explosive, but we need to be careful. The last thing we want is to tip off anyone who might be monitoring us. Evelyn nodded, a sense of urgency coursing through her veins. We understand the risks, but this is too important to stay hidden. We need to get this information out to the public. Nora's gaze was intense as she weighed their words. I want to help, she said finally, her voice steady. But we need to plan carefully. If there are people out there who want to keep this secret, they will do anything to stop us. As they discussed their strategy, Evelyn felt a mix of fear and hope. They were on the cusp of something monumental, and the road ahead was fraught with danger. But together, they were stronger, and they had the potential to shine a light on the dark secrets hidden beneath the surface. After laying out a preliminary plan, they finished their meal now cold and untouched, their minds too occupied with the weight of what lay ahead. They paid the bill and stepped outside into the cool night air, the stars twinkling overhead like distant promises. Evelyn turned to Nora, her heart pounding. What are our next steps? First, I need to review the evidence on that flash drive, Nora replied, her expression serious. I'll take it back to my office and go through everything carefully. I'll also start reaching out to my contacts in the media to gauge interest. We need to find someone who can help us get the word out without compromising our safety. Do you have a timeline in mind? Alex. The morning sun broke through the haze of the previous night's tension, casting a warm glow over Evelyn's apartment. The air felt charged with anticipation as she prepared for the day ahead. After their meeting with Nora, a new sense of urgency had settled over them. The fate of countless lives was hanging in the balance, and time was not on their side. Evelyn quickly made herself a cup of coffee, the rich aroma filling her small kitchen as she mulled over their plan. She had hardly slept, her mind racing with thoughts of their next steps. Would Nora be able to gather enough support? Would they face obstacles or pushback from powerful entities determined to keep the truth buried? The weight of these questions loomed over her like a dark cloud. Yet beneath it all, a flicker of determination ignited within her. As she sipped her coffee, her phone buzzed on the counter, jolting her from her thoughts. It was a message from Alex. Meeting at the diner at noon. Let's finalize our plan. Evelyn quickly typed back her confirmation and hurriedly got dressed. She opted for a simple yet professional outfit, wanting to convey seriousness for the task ahead. After a final glance in the mirror, she grabbed her notes and the flash drive, ensuring she had everything she needed before heading out. The drive to the diner felt longer than usual, the weight of anticipation pressing against her chest. As she parked and walked inside, she spotted Alex sitting at their usual booth, his expression a mix of determination and anxiety. He looked up and smiled as she approached, though there was an underlying tension in his features. "Hey, you made it! I was starting to think you'd gotten cold feet," he said, trying to lighten the mood, though his eyes betrayed a flicker of worry. "Not a chance," Evelyn replied, sliding into the booth across from him. "I've just been thinking about everything we have to do." Alex nodded, his expression turning serious. "I know. I've been going over our notes and trying to anticipate any questions or challenges we might face. We have to be prepared for anything. Do you think Nora has made any progress?" Evelyn asked, her curiosity piqued. "Hopefully." She said she would reach out to some of her contacts in the media and see if anyone is willing to run the story. "We should also be ready to discuss alternative strategies if that doesn't pan out," Alex replied, his brow furrowed in thought. "Right. We need to have a backup plan," Evelyn agreed. "We can't rely solely on traditional media. If we have to, we should consider using social media or independent platforms to get the word out." Just then, the bell above the diner's entrance jingled, and Nora walked in, her expression focused and determined. She spotted them and made her way over, a folder in hand that seemed to contain the weight of their hopes and fears. "Sorry I'm late," she said, sliding into the booth beside Alex. "I wanted to gather as much information as I could before I came here." Evelyn's heart raced as Nora opened the folder and began to lay out documents and notes on the table. "I reached out to a few contacts, and the response has been overwhelmingly positive. People want to know what's happening at Dulce, but we need to present the information in a way that's compelling and hard to ignore." "What did they say?" Evelyn asked, leaning in closer, feeling the gravity of their mission settle over them. Nora pulled out a few printed emails and slid them across the table. "Here are some of the responses. Several journalists are interested in the story, but they want a clear angle. They're looking for something that connects emotionally with the audience, something they can rally behind. If we can hook them, we can gain traction." Alex glanced at the papers, his eyes scanning the contents. "That makes sense. We need to frame this in a way that highlights the human aspect. These are lives at stake, and we can't lose sight of that." Evelyn felt a surge of determination. "We should create a narrative that not only informs, but also inspires action. If we can get people to care, they'll be more likely to support our cause." Nora nodded, her expression resolute. "I agree. We have to make it personal. We can share stories of the beings involved, highlighting their experiences and the injustices they've faced. That will resonate with people." With renewed energy, they began to brainstorm how to shape their narrative. They discussed potential headlines that would grab attention, phrases that would evoke emotion, and the specific details they wanted to include. Each idea built upon the last, creating a web of interconnected stories that painted a vivid picture of the atrocities occurring at the Dulce base. As they continued to work, the diner around them faded into the background. The clatter of dishes and the murmur of conversations became white noise, overshadowed by the intensity of their focus. Evelyn felt a sense of camaraderie growing between them, a bond forged through shared purpose and the weight of their mission. They were no longer just three individuals fighting against a hidden truth. They were a collective force, ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow through the diner windows, Nora glanced at her watch. "We should finalize everything and get ready to send it out. I'll coordinate with the journalists I spoke to and set up interviews. We need to be ready for any questions they might have." Evelyn nodded, her heart racing with anticipation. Let's make sure we have all our facts straight and that we can back up everything we lose. Say, we need to be credible. Definitely, Alex added. I'll compile all the evidence we've gathered into a clear, concise format. We need to ensure it's easy to digest, especially for those who might not be familiar with the intricacies of the situation. As they wrapped up their meeting, a sense of urgency filled the air. They knew they were on the brink of something monumental, but the weight of their mission was palpable. The stakes were high, and they had to be smart about how they proceeded. Let's meet back here tomorrow to review everything before it goes live, Nora suggested, gathering her materials. I'll keep you updated on any developments, Evelyn agreed, her mind already racing with the possibilities. We'll be ready. We have to be. As they left the diner, the cool evening air enveloped them, a stark contrast to the warmth of their earlier discussions. The streets felt alive with possibility, and Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of a significant breakthrough. Once home, Evelyn set to work immediately. She opened her laptop, the screen illuminating the room in a soft glow. She began drafting a narrative that would encapsulate everything they had discussed, weaving together the emotional threads that would resonate with their audience. The weight of the evidence felt monumental, and she wanted to ensure they did it justice. As the hours passed, the world outside her window faded away, her focus narrowing to the task at hand. She poured her heart into the words, careful to balance the factual details with the emotional stories she wanted to convey. Each sentence felt like a step closer to unveiling the truth, a chance to shed light on the darkness that had long been concealed. Just as she was about to save her progress, her phone buzzed with a new message, this time from Nora. Urgent meeting. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. I have news. Be prepared. The weight of uncertainty hung in the air, but Evelyn felt a surge of determination. Whatever news Nora had, they were ready to face it together. They had come too far to turn back now. The following morning dawned bright and clear, the sun filtering through Evelyn's curtains. She felt a mix of excitement and apprehension as she prepared for the day. The events of the previous day had set a whirlwind of emotions in motion, and she could hardly contain her anticipation for the meeting. As she drove to the diner that morning, her mind raced with possibilities. What news could Nora have? Would they finally have the support they needed to take their findings public? Would there be obstacles they hadn't anticipated? When she arrived, she spotted Alex already at their booth, his expression serious as he scanned the room. "Morning," he said, looking up as she approached. "Any idea what Nora has for us?" "No clue," Evelyn replied, sliding into the booth across from him. "But I can't shake this feeling that it's going to be significant." Just then, the door swung open, and Nora entered, her expression a mix of determination and urgency. She hurried over to their booth, her folder clutched tightly in hand. "Thanks for coming," she said, taking a seat. "We have a lot to go over, and I need you both to focus." Evelyn and Alex exchanged glances, the tension palpable. "What's going on?" Alex asked, leaning in closer. Nora took a deep breath, her gaze steady. "I reached out to several journalists, and I have some promising leads. But I also received a warning. There are people who are aware of our investigation, and they're not happy about it." Evelyn felt a chill run down her spine. "What kind of warning?" "Someone contacted me anonymously, suggesting that we tread carefully. They mentioned that our inquiries into the Dulce base have drawn attention, and there are forces at play that want to keep this information under wraps," Nora explained, her eyes narrowing. "Did they specify who?" Alex asked, his voice low, a sense of foreboding settling over them. "No, just that they're watching us," Nora replied, her expression grave. "We need to be extra cautious moving forward. I don't want to put any of us in danger." Evelyn's heart raced. "What do we do? Do we continue with our plan?" Nora nodded firmly. "Yes, but we need to be smart about it. I suggest we limit our communications and avoid discussing sensitive information in public places. We also need to have a backup plan in case things escalate." "Agreed," Evelyn said, feeling a surge of resolve. "We can't let fear stop us from exposing the truth. We owe it to those who are suffering because of what's happening in Dulce." "Exactly," Alex added, determination in his eyes. "We need to keep moving forward, but we have to be strategic." Nora's expression softened slightly. "I'm glad we're on the same page. I have a contact who can help us get the information to the right people discreetly. They have connections that can amplify our message without putting us directly in the line of fire." "Who is it?" Evelyn asked, feeling a mix of curiosity and apprehension. A former intelligence officer who's now a journalist, Nora explained. He's been involved in exposing government secrets for years and has a good track record of staying under the radar. If anyone can help us navigate this situation, it's him. Evelyn felt a flicker of hope. When can we meet him? I'll reach out to him today and see if he can meet us. I'll keep you both updated, Nora said, her expression resolute. In the meantime, let's finalize our presentation and get everything ready to go. We need to be prepared for anything. As they delved back into their work, the atmosphere shifted from one of uncertainty to focused determination. They were no longer just individuals searching for answers. They were a team, united by a common goal. Hours passed as they worked diligently, and by the time they finished, Evelyn felt a sense of accomplishment wash over her. They had crafted a compelling narrative, and with Nora's contacts, they were poised to make a significant impact. Let's take a moment to review everything before we send it out, Alex suggested, leaning back in his chair. As they went through their notes one last time, Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something monumental. The truth was within reach, but the path ahead was fraught with danger. They had come too far to turn back now. With their plan solidified, they stepped outside into the bright afternoon sun, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They were no longer just a group of concerned individuals. They were a force to be reckoned with, determined to unveil the truth hidden within the shadows of the Dulce base. The moments leading up to their next meeting felt like an eternity. Evelyn's mind raced with possibilities, each scenario more intense than the last. How would they present their findings? What kind of questions would the journalists ask? Would they be able to maintain their anonymity amidst the storm they were about to create? Do you think we'll be safe? Evelyn asked, her voice barely above a whisper as they walked to their cars. Alex glanced at her, concern etched on his face. As safe as we can be. We're taking precautions, and we need to keep our heads down until we get the story out. Once it's out in the open, it will be harder for anyone to silence us. Right, Evelyn said, though she felt a knot of anxiety in her stomach. She had never anticipated that exposing a hidden truth would come with so many risks. But the thought of the suffering beings trapped at the Dulce base fueled her resolve. They could not remain silent. As they parted ways, Evelyn's heart raced with a mix of anticipation and fear. She returned home and sat down at her kitchen table, spreading out the notes they had compiled. The sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the pages filled with their findings and the stories they had crafted. Each word bore the weight of their mission, and she felt a surge of determination to ensure they did not fail. As she worked, her phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Nora. I spoke with my contact. He's willing to meet today at 4 p.m. Can you both be there? Evelyn's heart raced. Yes, she replied quickly, her fingers trembling slightly as she typed. Where? Nora responded with the location of a small cafe on the outskirts of town, a place that was known for its discreet atmosphere. Evelyn felt a rush of nerves at the thought of meeting someone who had the potential to help them navigate the dangerous waters ahead. As the clock ticked closer to the meeting time, she felt a whirlwind of emotions. Would this former intelligence officer be able to help them? Would he understand the gravity of their findings? She knew they needed to present themselves as credible, and the pressure weighed heavily on her shoulders. When the time finally came, Evelyn arrived at the cafe a few minutes early. The quaint establishment was nestled between old brick buildings, with ivy creeping up the walls and the scent of freshly brewed coffee wafting through the air. She stepped inside, taking a moment to absorb the ambience. The warm lighting and casual chatter created a comforting atmosphere, a stark contrast to the tension swirling within her. Evelyn chose a table in the corner, hoping it would provide them with a sense of privacy. She pulled out her notes, reviewing them one last time as she waited for Nora and Alex to arrive. The minutes seemed to stretch, each second amplifying her anxiety. Finally, the door swung open, and Nora entered, followed closely by Alex. She waved them over, relief flooding through her as they settled into the seats across from her. Thanks for coming, Nora said, her expression serious yet hopeful. He should be here any minute. Evelyn felt her heart race again, the anticipation of the unknown hanging in the air. Do you think he'll be receptive to what we have to say? She asked, her voice laced with uncertainty. Nora nodded confidently. He's been in the field long enough to know how important this information is. If anyone can help us, it's him. Just then, the door opened again, and a tall man with greying hair stepped inside. He scanned the cafe before his gaze landed on their table, and a flicker of recognition crossed his face. He approached with a measured gait, exuding an air of confidence mixed with caution. "Are you Nora?" he asked, his voice deep and authoritative. Nora nodded, standing to shake his hand. "And these are my colleagues, Evelyn and Alex." As they exchanged greetings, Evelyn studied the man carefully. He had an intensity about him, a sharpness in his eyes that spoke of years spent navigating the intricacies of hidden truths. "I'm Jack," he said, taking a seat. "I understand you have some information that's quite serious." Evelyn felt a surge of adrenaline as she met his gaze. "Yes, we've uncovered evidence of unethical experiments taking place at the Dulce base. We believe extraterrestrial beings are being held against their will and subjected to inhumane treatment." Jack leaned in, his expression shifting to one of genuine interest. "I've heard whispers about Dulce, but nothing concrete. What do you have?" Nora slid the flash drive across the table, and Jack took it, examining it closely. "I'll need to review this thoroughly," he said, his voice steady. "But if what you're saying is true, this could shake the foundations of everything we know about government secrecy and alien life." Evelyn felt a mix of hope and fear as Jack continued. "I need to know that you're prepared for the implications of this. Once the lid is off, there's no putting it back on. You could become targets." "We understand the risks," Nora replied, her jaw set with determination. "But we can't let fear stop us from exposing the truth. Too many lives depend on it." Jack nodded, his expression serious. "You're right. I'll help you get this information to the right people, but we need to tread carefully. I suggest we create a plan for how to release this information without drawing too much attention to ourselves initially." Evelyn felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Thank you. We're ready to do whatever it takes." With that, they began to discuss strategies for unveiling the truth. Jack shared insights from his years of experience, outlining the best avenues for approaching the media and ensuring their story gained traction. He emphasized the importance of preparation, of having all their facts straight and their evidence meticulously organized. As they talked, Evelyn felt a sense of empowerment building within her. This was the moment they had been waiting for, the chance to finally make their voices heard. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but she knew they were ready to confront it. As the sun began to set outside, casting an orange glow over the cafe, Evelyn's heart swelled with determination. They were no longer just a group of concerned individuals. They were a movement, ready to unveil the truth hidden within the shadows of the Dulce base and fight for those who could not fight for themselves.